Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Ash Paulson and Colin McIsaac from Gamnesia to discuss the recent roster leak for Super Smash Bros. Is it real or fake? Well, let's get started and see. So, guys, we've all seen the roster leak at this point, and getting a lot of requests on our opinions on it. So, we put this discussion together, and of course, Andre's still off in Europe, so he's not around to discuss this. So we got Colin here from Gamnesia to step in and get his opinions. Thank you for that, Colin.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure.
So, according to this leak, the veterans that we have returning are Jigglypuff, Ness, Ganondorf, Mr. Game & Watch, Wario, Rob, and Falco. And the veterans that have gotten cut include Ice Climbers, Squirtle, Ivysaur, Lucas, Wolf, and Snake. Now that's not all, because in addition to all these veterans confirmations, assumably if this leak is correct, we also get our final set of newcomers, which include Bowser Jr., Dark Pit, Shulk, and the crazy one, the Duck Hunt Dog. There's evidence, there's the associated evidence, of course, with all this stuff that make people say, oh, this has to be this. And I, for one, don't buy it at all. I really don't. But let's get you guys' take. What do you think about this whole thing, Ash?
I am cautiously on the real side. I mean, there are so many compelling reasons to believe that it's fake, as well as reasons to believe that it's real. But, the main one for me is very simple, and it's that no one has been able to source any of the renders or the models for any of the unrevealed characters yet. And I mean, a day is a long time for the internet trying to debunk a leak, and straight up, no one has been able to find a source for any of these unrevealed characters, like Ness or the Duck Hunt Dog or anything like that. So, I'm very cautiously on the side of this being real, although I can completely see why it could be fake, and I would not be surprised if it turns out to be fake.
And I'm actually in completely the exact same boat as Ash. Nobody's been able to source the renders, and I mean, to be honest, the renders themselves look very, very professional. That's a very compelling piece of just first-hand visual evidence for me. And there are a lot of good points that go against the leak's credibility, but a lot of the arguments on both sides can be so easily refuted that I feel like really all we have to go on is just purely the visual information in the images.
Yeah, I hear that, but people are very good about these things, and I've seen some very good renders on just on a amateur scale about how good these things can look. So it wouldn't surprise me if somebody could take the effort to make these themselves.
Yeah,
and it would make sense.
Yeah, no, I mean that's true. It really does astound me how legitimate people can make fake things look on the internet. I mean, and we've seen that throughout the kind of the pre-release hype for Smash Brothers. So again, it would not be surprising this turned out to be fake.
There was a very impressive Klonoa leak that turned out to be false. It was just a picture on DeviantArt, but someone basically copied the exact style of the Smash Bros. 4 newcomer portraits and rendered one for Klonoa. Of course, it turned out to be false. It was just a fan on DeviantArt, but that is, an example of the kind of professional quality work that a fan can do.
Exactly, and that's the thing that's really, like, I see your point where it could look really good, but then I counter back is like, that whole amateur thing,
yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, my gut, all I can really do is go by my gut, and my gut says this is completely fake, and just on the whole of the leak itself, I mean, I think some of these choices are really odd. I mean, I love the idea of the Duck Hunt Dog, but to have Dark Pit in there, to have to do Bowser Jr., I mean, I can sort of see them popping in, but then you got the odd choice that I think of, and I actually failed to mention in my little introduction, is Dr. Mario. They're saying can come back, and my whole thought is, why bring Dr. Mario back when you have customizable moves? Yes, we've seen Mario's customizable moves, and none of them are even remotely close to Dr. Mario, but we've also seen, palette swaps where characters get completely new costumes.
Well, I completely see where you're coming from, but to be fair again, though, I mean, Smash has a very strong history of characters that people don't really expect to return or to show up at all. I mean, in this game alone, we've had Rosalina, Robin and Lucina, who everyone thought the Fire Emblem slot was going to go to Chrom, Greninja, Wii Fit Trainer, and most of these characters nobody was expecting. And, even since the first game, nobody would have expected Jigglypuff or the F-Zero guy or the kid from that Super Nintendo RPG to get in over, say, Bowser. I am completely with you that I don't really like the idea of Dr. Mario as his own character. I'm surprised that, say, Bowser Jr. would be here. I'm surprised that Dark Pit is more than just an alt costume. But, we've had surprises like these in the past, and it's not out of the question that more surprises, are completely possible.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement. I mean, regardless of how I feel, whether this is real or fake, I mean, I'm not a super big fan of this leak if it ends up being true. I mean, for the same reasons as a lot of you guys just said, Dr. Mario coming back, it is not. It feels to me like Dr. Mario could easily be covered as an alternate costume with custom special moves. I mean,
exactly.
Dr. Mario coming back before someone, before Mewtwo. I mean, that's just asinine to me. And I'm also not crazy about the idea of Lucas, Ice Climbers, Wolf, and I guess Snake is a different story. But at least Lucas, Ice Climbers, and Wolf being relegated to DLC. And not only being cut, but being DLC. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad they're going to be there at all, if this is true, but it's just strange to have cut all those characters.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Ash.
Yeah, I completely agree. Though, there is a point against that in that the leaker who posted these images, and granted, because this was just a text post on, 4chan, it's very possible that he was just saying this to sort of mess with people after he's given all of this information that's, very hard to discredit. But he did say that there would be 5 DLC characters, and those would be Lucas, Ice Climbers, Snake, Wolf, and the Chorus Kids from Rhythm Heaven. Whether that leak, completely separate from this, is legit in itself is a completely different question. But to be fair, if he is leaking entirely accurate information, then it's not terribly shocking that these characters are cut in the initial roster and can be added, say later on when the Wii U version comes out.
And I have problems with that in itself, just by itself. I mean, yeah, I can kind of see Lucas and Wolf being DLC. Snake, why does he get cut when you get all these other third-party newcomers in the game?
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me. Ice Climbers have been around since Melee, and they're their own thing, The Ice Climbers cut in itself just, makes me want this to be untrue.
Yeah.
Even just beyond how these characters look or whether or not we believe they should be in there or not, there's the scans themselves that are being used as evidence, and we already talked about how they look. But the sticking point for me is that the original leaker had an entire roster list, and that showed off the 3DS version of the character select screen, and I'll be honest, it's ugly as hell.
It honestly is.
It's so dull. It's so basic, and especially after seeing it at E3, this is not how it looks like at all. It looks like he just took them. It looks like somebody just took it, put it on a black background, and said, "There you go." And why? This is Sakurai. Sakurai is known for having some really great menus, and to have it so bland, it makes no sense.
Well, I read someone jokingly say that it's because Sakurai and his wife are going through a divorce.
Oh, God.
Because for those not in the know, his wife is actually the one who designs the UI for Sakurai's games.
Really?
Yeah. So it's just kind of maybe in a slightly bad taste joke, but I got a good chuckle out of it.
The other thing to consider is that if the idea of the 5 DLC characters is true, the roster screen itself, as you can see in these pictures, there is a very weird order. Yoshi interrupts the Mario series characters. Bowser Jr. is not next to Bowser, which is kind of a weird thing. Dr. Mario, Dark Pit, and Lucina are completely removed in their own separate little clone section, whereas Toon Link is up with the Zelda characters. There are these weird discrepancies in the character order that don't really seem to make sense, but if you consider the idea that DLC characters are planned, and then if you look at the history of the Melee roster, the Brawl roster, before all the characters were unlocked, Like, for example, in Melee, Pikachu was in between Mario and Bowser,
Right.
I think it was, which made absolutely no sense. Once you unlocked the entire roster, it all fell into place. And so that's an explanation for one of the potential problems with this roster. To address the point of just ugliness, though, I mean, yeah, I agree. There really is no good excuse for it. If you'll notice, the names are completely removed from underneath the characters, and at E3 we saw these roster slots with the characters' names underneath them, but we saw a character select menu with a lot fewer characters, and so it would kind of make sense to try to cram, you know, if you're trying to cram 53 roster slots into a 3DS screen, you gotta make some shortcuts.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, I don't think the roster not having names on the characters is at all a point against it being real. Just because...
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, just because, I mean, look, the 3DS's top screen is 400 by 240, I think is what it is, which is not very much space to cram however many characters, 50-plus characters like you just said. So, if anything, I'm actually kind of surprised that we didn't think of this earlier, that they might just get rid of the names and have only their faces, because names can easily be displayed on the bottom screen.
No, it makes sense to do something like that. It's you know, that never really became a concern at all. But you know, there's been pictures going around for a while now. It's like I forget what the exact thing was, but basically anybody can do a character select screen.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing about this. It's like it's so shoddily done when you compare it to how the quality of the renders. It's like, what the heck happened? It's like, did they all just put all the effort in there? It's like, good enough, throw it up, and that sort of thing. And I don't know. I just, like I said, all I can do is go based on my gut feeling, and just looking at these leaks, I just don't buy it. Mm-hmm. I really don't.
Well, one important point I think we should bring up is the fact that one of the screenshots that was leaked, it's of the bottom screen, and we see Bowser Jr., Pikachu, and Kirby. And some people were saying, oh, this is definitely fake, because if you look above Kirby, there's a slightly thicker black line between the CPU text and the level 5 text that isn't there for the other characters. Now, that was seen as a reason for this to be fake for a little while, and then someone did some research and said, wait, this is actually an actual random visual glitch that happens on the 3DS version when you select a character while playing the game. So that actually then turned into a really compelling reason to believe that this could be real, only because if this is a fake, the faker would have to have incredibly detailed knowledge to know to maybe make one of these lines thicker. So that, to me, is a pretty compelling argument that this could be real, because, you know, how do you, I mean, it is possible that this person could know that there's a random visual glitch that happens when you select a character, but how likely is that really?
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know. That's why I'm not a huge fan of talking about leaks in the first place.
Right.
Just because they are so... They're unconfirmed. You don't know anything. And, you know, we love to speculate, but this isn't the fun kind of speculation. This is like, is this real or is it not? And I just...
Right.
It feels like it's somebody toying with you, and I don't like that feeling.
Sure.
I guess the other thing about whether this is real or fake or not is that we also got a stage select screen for the 3DS version. And I just see it as further evidence that this is all fake, because there's not really any rhyme or reason to how these levels are set up, much like the character select screen. And once again, it's basic, it's ugly. And the third thing that just blows my mind about it is that in Brawl, classic stages and new stages were completely separated. Here, they are just thrown in there all over the place. It makes no sense from a visual standpoint, and I don't know.
You know, I actually was completely with you on that one, and to some extent I still am. But I did see someone, I believe it was on Smashboards, make a pretty compelling point that if you look at the stages themselves, a lot of the Brawl past stages are being used to represent franchises that don't have new stages. And that's very weird to me that Sakurai and the development team would completely forego new stages for certain franchises and just recycle old ones for, you know, Corneria, Jungle Japes, Brinstar for the third time. From a development standpoint, in terms of taking shortcuts to get a game released on time, it does kind of make sense. I still think it's ugly, I still think it's baffling, but, you know, I don't think it derails the leak entirely.
Yeah, I mean, Derek, you and I and Andre have actually talked about that exact point, that, you know, we were a little worried that Sakurai, you know, working on releasing two of these games almost simultaneously might mean that the new stages could get divided between both versions, which, if this is real, that appears to be exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, I I don't like it.
Yeah.
Neither do I.
I don't think any of us like it.
No.
And I don't know. It just doesn't. Like I said, you expect a sort of a very clean, very appealing layout when it comes to Sakurai's games.
Yeah.
And we're just not seeing it here for either the character selection or the level selection. And like I said, I'm going on the record here. I'm calling this fake. Maybe I'll end up being wrong. I don't know, but I just don't buy it.
Well, now there are a couple of things to note about the stage select screen before we move on, and that's one, that the stage select screen was actually leaked by a different person than the original leaker who, leaked the character selection screen and Ness's model and and that stuff. So they are coming from two different sources. The other thing is that the stage select screen does include Brinstar, which that's an interesting point because we didn't even know Brinstar was back in the 3DS version until literally yesterday with the pick of the day, and it's we don't know when these images were created. It is very possible that that could have gone up for the pick of the day, and then whoever made this, if it's fake, whoever made this added in Brinstar at the last second. But that seems a little unlikely. So, that is just something to consider, that Brinstar is here, and we didn't even know that Brinstar was in 3DS until, again, yesterday.
Well, the internet does work very quickly, so
That's true.
I'm not using that as
Yeah.
I don't find that as a reason. I mean, yeah, it's possible, especially since it was so new. Might have been a lucky guess, or it might have just been that the internet works that quickly that they
Sure.
can put something together like this.
Well, still talking about the character select screen, there are actually two things here that are really compelling to me. Quickly on the real side is that the Paper Mario stage with the windmill whatever it was from Sticker Star, that stage is shown at a completely new angle. We've only ever seen one screenshot of the stage, and this one has a camera looking at the stage from a little bit more of a bird's eye view than the screenshot that we saw in the pick of the day. So in order to fake something that small on the stage select screen, the faker would have had to completely either remodel or redraw the entire stage from a different angle and then put it into the select screen, which is something that I find that I don't think that anybody would do, considering the fact that the images for Jungle Japes, Brinstar, and Corneria are all the same ones that were used in Brawl. And so if he were to do that for the Paper Mario stage, I would imagine that he would go to the same lengths to re-envision, I suppose, the other past stages that he easily just grabbed a screenshot from, because he could have just as easily grabbed a screenshot of the Paper Mario stage and stuck it in there, but he didn't. But the other thing is, if you look at the random stage, little icon there, the corner of the bottom right corner of that icon actually bleeds into the menu below. If you look very, very closely, zoom in very far, you'll notice that the corner bleeds into the little button that says customization off. That is telling to me that, that wouldn't happen in the actual game. So, there's absolutely no reason that should be there other than it's a shoddy fake.
Well, and another thing to bring up, one more thing about the stage selection screen is that this week's Famitsu scans just came out, actually, literally like an hour ago. And they show us a view at a Tamagotchi Life room that we've never seen before. And in this leaked screen, we see an angle on that room that we've never seen before. Well, I should say we see a new angle on that room that we have never seen before until now. So that seems like it would be something that'd be pretty hard to fake as well. So again, this just kind of, contributes to the fact that there really is no completely compelling evidence that shuts it down one way or another.
Yeah, it's tough to say, all said and told. Maybe I'm just too down on this, I don't know. But yeah, I don't buy it. I'm just going to wait and see if it actually happens, because at this point, I only trust Sakurai. Wait till Sakurai says something and then, okay, yep, that's true.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. This is a goofy little thing that seems like a big mistake on the select screen to me, but Wario's left pupil, he's either gone completely cross-eyed, which is to me a development mistake, or his left pupil is completely missing, which seems like something that a faker wouldn't overlook, but it's just funny and confusing and baffling to me that that Wario's render is that there's such an obvious mistake.
It's like we said, there's evidence here that makes it seem like it could be true. There's evidence here that it could be bad. And it really comes down to what you personally think for this thing, and you just have to wait and see what it's going to be. But I think that mostly covers it for the basics of this leak and what we all think about it. So I want to thank you, Colin, for joining us, and I think that about covers it for our discussion of the Smash Brothers leak. So thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, and of course stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Smash and other things gaming too. Until next time, guys, bye.